Hello, and welcome to my channel and video. I thought today I would talk a little bit about my expat journey of coming to Germany, and all the mistakes I made along the way, and also what you can maybe learn from it if you're thinking of immigrating to Germany because you found some job offer or something like that. So yeah, I mean, everyone's gonna have a different story, but hopefully mine has some benefit to you. So I started working from South Africa as a freelancer for a German company. Yeah, for a company here in Germany, specifically Munich. And in this time, it was quite fun. I earned quite a decent salary or a decent income. And in South Africa, at least, if you earn from abroad, you have a lot of options. There's also quite a decent tax structure, or at least at that time there was a decent tax structure so that you could optimize your income, especially if you were reinvesting your money into your venture. And so at the time I was doing quite well, and I was excited about the company that I was working at, and I thought that like I had a great opportunity, and eventually this was also through the pandemic, so I thought that okay, well, eventually I'll immigrate to Germany and try that out, since I've never worked abroad, so maybe that could be an opportunity to grow as well in my skills. And I mean, it's, as like a South African, people see it as like a really good thing if you can work abroad, or if you have the opportunity to work abroad. Anyway, so I worked for a couple months, probably around almost a year, as a freelancer, while I was sorting out all the paperwork and things to immigrate. This took a couple months, not necessarily from the German side. It was more like collecting documents from the South African Home Affairs, and it was like a very tedious process to get some of the documents. I had to pay companies to essentially do it for me because it was just such a hassle. Anyway, after a couple months of doing that and submitting everything to through the German embassy, I got the blue card visa. So so I'm just gonna put that there. So I got a blue card visa tying me to this company here in Germany. And and so I moved to Munich, and initially I was actually very fortunate, and I got an apartment through one of the through some personal ties, I guess you could say, through the company. And I was very fortunate, and I thought this is like a very amazing opportunity that I even got an apartment. And a lot of people told me that it's really rare to get an apartment so quick, especially in Munich, where it's very populated. So anyway, so I was like, okay, well, this is great. I got everything sorted, and I was unaware of, firstly, like the moving to Germany costs, as well as the cost of the apartment. So, I mean, obviously I knew I had to pay a deposit, but I was more under the impression that the company would sort it out for me, right? So I'm just going to draw a line here and do this. So there was the apartment deposit. There was obviously the actual move from South Africa. There were some fees on like my visa, and like while I was also applying, I had to, for example, recognize my degree, and the recognition of my degree also cost a bunch of money in rands, in South African rands. And obviously all of these fees and things, in hindsight, I could have probably had the company pay for it, but yeah, I paid for it. I paid for it out of pocket. And fortunately, in a weird way as well, I did get some reimbursement for the flight to Germany, but I didn't get any sort of relocation budget. Okay, so in Germany, usually you get a relocation. Sorry, typing and speaking is not too much multitasking. So usually you get a relocation budget, but I didn't get one. I only got reimbursed for the flight here, which was a one-way ticket. And I decided as well in South Africa that I wouldn't try and ship anything here because maybe it would be too much effort and cost, and like it would also take many months via a seafare, cargo ship basically. So I thought, okay, well, I can do it on the bare minimum for now, and there's an opportunity I can't pass up, right? So I got here, and the apartment deposit, I arranged that the company could pay for it directly, but it came with some caveats. Firstly, the deposit wasn't like a gift or like a part of the relocation budget. It was a loan at I think 5% interest, I think. And I mean, I'm not blaming the company here or anything. I think this is just my own inexperience of negotiating, and obviously of knowing what is the proper customs in a foreign country like Germany. I didn't know that there existed like a relocation budget, and that they would actually be able to, pay my lodging for a bit, or set me up, or or even pay for the visa and things. So I had to pay for all of that. I mean, the visa I think was 120 euros that I had to pay. I think it was around there. And then that was like before coming. So let me just add here, before coming to Germany. And again, in Germany, I think I paid another 106 or something euros for the card, for the actual card. Because how it works is that you get like a little visa, you get the visa in your passport, but it's only valid for 3 months. And then you convert it to a blue card. Because you can, for some reason, only get the blue card if you're in Germany. So you have to first get to Germany, which I required a visa for, and then inside Germany you can convert this to a blue card. So obviously there's two different fees here. There's one for the actual visa and your passport, and the other for the actual card, the blue card that you get at the KVR. Anyway, so moving back to relocation budget. So I got here and I had no furniture. The apartment that I got was not furnished. It fortunately did have a kitchen. Okay. So if you're an expat and you're unaware, some German apartments do not have a built-in kitchen. The apartment and the kitchen is considered like a separate thing. And so if you're coming to Germany, please make sure that when you get an apartment that either you can afford to buy a kitchen and it's going to cost you like a couple €1,000, or the apartment comes with a kitchen, or you just get like fully furnished. So in my case, I did not have I had no furnished furniture, so the apartment that I got, like over here, let's put it there, no furniture, but had a kitchen, which is great. Anyway, so I got here and obviously I I had to deal with my initial savings from South Africa, from my freelancing here in euros, which was like horrible because I mean, South Africa, I saved up around it wasn't a lot. I think it was probably around 10,000 rand, which is considered, I think, 500 euros. So I had like about 500 euros in savings. And when I got here, I had to obviously pay for things, and I had to also wait for the reimbursement for the flight. So I paid the flight with that 500 euros, and hoped that they would reimburse me, like, you know, pretty much immediately. But they didn't. They said I had to submit an invoice from my company in South Africa. So yeah, I had to submit this invoice from here. Let me just do this. So I had like here an invoice, and this was for extra hour work or something, right? And this would equate to the flight cost, and then they would pay it at the end of the month. So I arrived in Germany in the middle of the month, and they said they would pay it like at the end. So I had to wait an extra, like, I think I had to wait like about 2 weeks for them to pay it, and then it would arrive in my South African bank account here again, because I didn't have a bank account yet in Germany. And then I would have to convert that money into euros again, which was part of the savings here, which had a fee, obviously. And yeah, and anyway, so I only had this small savings, and I had to cook food somehow. So I would walk to the office. I couldn't afford spending any extra money on transport or the train. This was before they had the like 39 euro ticket or the 49 euro ticket, like Deutschland ticket. So I couldn't afford that, so I just decided, no, I'm just gonna walk to the office. Even like working at the office, I'm just gonna walk every day. And it was like about 5 kilometers, or maybe a little bit less. And so I would walk about 40 to an hour, 40 minutes to an hour. It kind of depended, I think. And so I would walk every day to the office, and even on weekends I would walk there because the office had a kitchen, and I would be able to buy cheap pasta or spaghetti, and have like a cheap sauce, throw that over, and you've got a meal basically. And so my budget for food at the time was 20 euros a week. So let me just add that here. That was my budget for food. So obviously there's no way I can eat out. Even a Dune like is probably around 8 euros in Munich. Maybe you can get a little cheaper in some areas, but yeah, that was 20 euros for the whole week. So I had to really buy the cheapest ingredients I could find in the store, and I would obviously use some of the ingredients in the office if there were leftovers, or like anything on like pulses or things, even like rice, for example. There was sometimes rice, and then I would just cook the rice from the office. So I did this for about a month, and my first paycheck from my German salary, that arrived at let's first say the last paycheck of my South African salary. My last South African paycheck had to go for my last payment, my last rent payment in South Africa, and for the new apartment. And the new apartment was obviously significantly more expensive. It was like 2.5 times my rent in South Africa. Actually, a little bit more. It was more than 2.5 times, and I had to pay that, and I was left with, I think I was left with about 200 euros for the rest of the month. All right, so let's see where I was at, right? So I had the 500 euros of savings, which went into buying a mattress, like small things, furniture and things for my apartment. This was just a mattress basically. I bought I didn't think I actually bought anything but a mattress at the beginning, and maybe some pillows, and I didn't buy a duvet or anything. It was pretty much that, and I think like some cutlery, like some kitchen equipment, maybe like a little bit of cutlery, and some plates, things like that, but very cheap, sort of IKEA stuff. And so I was left with my little bit of savings that I had here, plus I think about 200 euros, plus some leftover savings. It was something like that. Alright, so obviously this doesn't look good. I mean, this is like horrible. This is, yeah, and I had to live like that for an entire month. Because in hindsight, I mean, this is obviously also my fault for not taking into account that I had no relocation budget, and I had too little savings, even though it sounded like a lot in South Africa. It was too little for what I had to actually, spend in Germany, especially in Munich. I mean, so yeah. Anyway, so I'm not blaming the company or anything. I'm just reflecting here on what I did wrong and things that you can maybe even learn from right now in this situation, as you can see. So with this, I had to obviously buy food and things throughout the month, and I think my budget for food was roughly 100 to 120 euros for the month, and it stayed like that for a while. I think it stayed like that for at least 2 to 3 months. And I was walking to the office for that month, that first month. Fortunately enough, one of my coworkers was very kind and borrowed me, or lent me, I don't know, borrowed a bicycle, like an old bicycle he had lying around, and so I used that to commute to the office. But it was extremely cold. Like I didn't own such warm clothing. I didn't own warm clothing because I'm coming from a country that doesn't. Well, it gets like a little cold, and yeah, sure, like it will be, frost maybe a little like now and again, but it's not snowing. It doesn't snow really. It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a hot and dry country, and yeah, and I got here with like no warm clothing. Well, some like some wool jackets that I got from my in-laws, but that was it. It wasn't enough for a bike, like a bicycle ride in the snow. So it was always extremely cold on my bicycle, and I would always just keep on pedaling to heat myself up, to keep myself warm. So I would try and beat all the traffic lights to the office, because then I wouldn't, you wouldn't sit there inside in the wind, you would. Anyway, so I got, I at least got my first paycheck in Germany, and the company was gracious and said, okay, well, your first paycheck won't automatically deduct this loan that you took out. And so it would only start, on the second paycheck. So I didn't know how taxes worked or how the health insurance worked in Germany. So that first month I registered for health insurance. I just, used like some comparative tool, and some colleagues just said, yeah, just like pick one. I don't know. Like and I also had, my wife still back in South Africa, and she's living with parents because we don't have I've paid my last payment for rent here. And I pick a health insurance in Germany. I register for taxes and things, but unbeknownst to me, in Germany, when you register for taxes, when you register for taxes, you are automatically in category 4 if you're married. And I didn't know that. I was unaware that you automatically get put into this category. I knew that there were some, categories, obviously, but no one told me. There was no HR and nothing like that could tell me, hey, like, you should, tell us which tax category we should put you in, or I don't know, like, no one told me that I should change this. And so I automatically got put in category 4. And I thought that's just how it is. And I got taxed as if my spouse was earning the same salary as me. So you get taxed here as same income as spouse. So both of you are earning similar incomes, so they tax you both quite highly. It's much higher than, say, tax category 3 and 5, which is what I was supposed to be. And on top of that, the loan for my deposit on my apartment starts rolling in. And that was 300 euros a month. Okay, so to give you an idea, this would 300 euros would get deducted, and I would be left with around about 2,700 euros net. That's what I had left after paying my taxes and health insurance and whatnot, and obviously the loan. And then I would have to pay my rent, which was warm rent, which is including utilities, almost 1,500 euros, a month. So, I mean, you can see where this is heading. So that's more than 50% of my income going to rent. And I mean, I'm not, of course, again, like, I'm blaming myself for not knowing any of this, not reading up first before saying, yeah, deduct 300 a month for the loan, because I could choose to do it over like 1 year, over 2 years, over 3 years. But I chose to do it over 1 year because I'm a big proponent of not having debt. And so I didn't want to pay a lot of interest eventually on the loan. So yeah, so I told them, okay, let's just do 1 year, and it ended up being 300 euros a month. And I didn't know that you get taxed more automatically because of category 4. And so for the next year, we were living on like rice, basically, because my spouse also arrived in Germany, and that was it. For a year, we were very poor. And so I never thought that, being in a field that's supposedly high income, like a high income earner, being in a field like software, because that's what I'm in, and IT would cause me to be this poor. I never actually thought that. I mean, yeah, in South Africa you can have like a low salary, but especially when you're starting out, like you're just out of university. But in Germany, I didn't think this attractive salary could end up being almost nothing. And fortunately, at the start of the following year, I was able to claim back a lot of the taxes that I've overpaid for a year. So that was a plus. I learned how to do that. I submitted my tax returns the following year, and I got like almost 5,000 euros back. Actually, no, I did. I got more than 5,000 back. So in the year 20... actually, I'm not going to say what the year this was, but just know that it was somewhere in this last couple of years. I submitted my tax returns, and I got I got all this money back. And so that was a huge relief. And only after a year, about maybe a year and a half, did we feel like, wow, okay, now we can finally actually, live normally, actually have a food budget that didn't consist of just rice and potatoes. And yeah, I mean, that was like one of the worst years in, not one, it wasn't the worst year, but it was, financially speaking, the worst year of my life. So you as an expat that's maybe listening to this video, I hope that the story gives you some context of what it really costs and what it really means to move to Germany, especially if you're from a poor country where your currency means nothing. And always know that in Germany it's normal to get a relocation budget. It's normal to get like 5k for relocating. And it's normal for a company to even house you or even help you find housing for the first 3 months that you're here. I mean, I had some colleagues that were based in Europe but moved to Germany, where the company would pay for 3 months of their accommodation, everything, like the utilities, everything included. It has furniture, everything. And they only had to worry about, like, the living stuff, like the living costs, like settling in, actually learning the language. So yeah, don't be fooled. Like, seriously, if a company gives you an offer, make sure that they give you a relocation budget. Make sure that they're paying for your visa and the fees on behalf of you. Make sure that they're depositing that into your account so that you can actually afford it. I mean, paying 120 euros in South Africa is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous sum of money. So, I mean, yeah, so make sure that when you come to Germany that you have either a fully furnished apartment, the company is paying for it, so that you can start saving money immediately when you arrive here. This helps you build that baseline, because remember, a German living in Germany with, family members, they've already, spent money on things like clothing. They already have the clothes for the winter here. They already have boots. They already have like furniture from family members. They already know the language. They can integrate, or they're already integrated, I mean. And for you to start integrating, it will cost time, it will cost effort, and it will cost money. Like, that's just how it is. And I mean, even the recognition part was 200 euros here for my degree. It was like about 200. And again, this wasn't reimbursed at all. I had to pay it out of pocket. Anyway, so that's a huge rant, I think. And thank you for watching this long story of how I got here. And I hope that you learned something from it. And yeah, I mean, comment below. Maybe you have an interesting story as well to share. Pretty sure that I haven't had it. I'm pretty sure my story is not the worst. I'm pretty sure others experienced worse or similar. So yeah. Anyway, cheers.